I just purchased the most expensive Tacoma that Toyota has ever offered, so you guys don't have to. What's going on, everyone? Back with another episode of Stuff and Things. My 2024 Tacoma is officially here, and this is going to start a whole new series on the channel. Now, there's already a lot of information out there on the internet regarding the 4th gen Tacoma, but none of the information that I'm truly looking for. A lot of videos and information on forums and stuff. Any information that exists out there right now seems to be coming from people who have an in at Toyota, and they were able to go on test rides and kind of talk about the features from corporate Toyota's perspective. And that being said, there's not a lot of information out there right now on this specific truck. The gas models have been out on the road since earlier this year, but since it is a new generation, I decided maybe I should try something a little bit different. So I held out and I waited for this guy right here. This is a 4th gen Toyota Tacoma TRD Pro. Instead of just sucking up all of the information out there on the internet right now, I really wanted to kind of get my own opinions on it. And what better way to do that than to actually go out and purchase this truck yourself? The main question is this going to be a big mistake, a big regret? This was a very, very expensive truck. Honestly, it was kind of hard to justify going with this exact trim and everything that we're going to talk about here today. But like I said, I'm kind of doing this so you guys don't have to. Or maybe you do want to get a TRD Pro Tacoma, the new 4th gen iForce Max, hybrid, ton of power. I'm really hoping that the information that I'm going to be bringing you guys over the next couple of months and years really is beneficial to you. I'm going to be completely open and honest like I always am. We're going to talk about the pros and cons, and of course we're going to do a little bit of modification to the truck, but honestly nothing crazy. Since this is your first time seeing this truck on the channel, I do want to kind of keep it pretty broad for this one. I actually have the window sticker in my pocket right here, so I want to go through everything that you would expect when buying a brand new truck like this, and then towards the end, once we're covering all the features and stuff, I kind of want to talk about the buying process of getting a new vehicle. How much did this thing cost? Am I doing any maintenance, warranties? What is my actual thought process behind that? Because I've never covered it in a video before. So without further ado, let's check out this window sticker with the disgusting price on it. And let's just run down through the list. First on the list, we have the unique TRD Pro content. So this is basically the features that you are going to be finding on a TRD Pro Tacoma. Up front, we have the Toyota Heritage Grille with integrated LED light bar and a hood scoop. Now, I absolutely love the TRD Pro grills that are on most of the vehicles. Any of my Toyotas that you've seen in the past, I have switched out to this right here. And luckily, with the TRD Pro, I don't have to do that. We do have that integrated light bar in here, which is activated only when the high beams are on. There's a switch for that inside on the dash. And we have a black painted hood scoop, which is not functional. It looks cool. It's honestly not as intrusive as I thought it would be. Generally, I don't like non-functional accents like that, but it does really bring the TRD Pro styling to the truck, and luckily I can see over it pretty well. So when we get this thing off-road doing some more technical stuff, I'm hoping that that extra little hood bump there is not going to be an issue. For the suspension on this truck, this is where the TRD Pro really shines. Underneath this truck in all 4 corners, we have TRD tuned Fox QS3 internal bypass shocks with remote reservoirs. The QS3 on that name stands for Quick Switch 3, so there are 3 different adjustment modes, kind of like soft, medium, and firm mode. So far, I got this truck and it was in the medium mode, which is great for kind of do it all. I did loosen all 4 corners and turn it to soft just to see what that would feel like on the road, but in the future I'm going to crank that thing up to firm when we can really rally this truck, because the way it's kind of sitting right now with the suspension and a lot of the other features, it's kind of like a mini trophy truck, mini rally truck. All you Raptor guys out there are probably running to the comments already. You don't need to take that saying too seriously, but this is basically the truck from Toyota that you buy to go fast off-road. We have some TRD Pro signature LED headlights up front with the TRD Pro, which is illuminated on the side. Kind of a cool touch. You gotta let everyone know that you're driving a TRD Pro, I guess. These headlights have been great so far, and they also have an adjustable feature just like my new Tundra does, where you can level the headlights from a little rolly dial inside on the dash. We have 18-inch TRD black alloy wheels. I actually really like the TRD Pro wheels. I actually looked for a set of these for my Tundra because I think it's just cool to kind of keep the OEM factory look. However, The offset isn't the greatest. I want the stance to be a little bit wider, and the offset has changed quite a lot from the 3rd gen to the 4th gen. So I do have some new wheels and tires coming, and that will probably be like all I really touch up here. The suspension so far has been phenomenal, and I'm gonna try to get my money's worth out of this expensive Fox setup. Now underneath we have the TRD front skid plate, which has TRD Pro stamped on there, of course. I was actually pretty surprised with this skid plate because some that I've seen in the past seem like thin aluminum, but this thing is like probably 1/4 inch aluminum, and it actually looks like it could take a hit. So I'm gonna be running that thing until I get some proper armor all throughout the truck. We have the power open and close tailgate. You can do that from a button on the inside, 2 buttons on the outside of the taillights, or of course just grabbing the handle. You can kind of bump that thing up with your knee and it will automatically soft close. Pretty cool touch on a truck like this. And I should also mention that this is the first time I've ever bought a vehicle that is completely fully loaded. So all of those like little features which kind of seem gimmicky, I'm actually really liking them when it's in one complete package from the factory altogether. There's not a whole lot on this truck that I need to touch. Now the TRD Pro also comes with the thing that everyone has been talking about, and that is the Softex trimmed Isodynamics Performance front seats. These seats have their own suspension on them, and that is probably deserving of a full video in itself. So far, I will say the seats are very, very comfortable. They kind of hug you like a race seat. The bolsters come up pretty high on the sides and in your back area. They are heated and cooled. I never had cooled seats in a vehicle before, so that's a nice touch. There are some cons to them, and we will cross that bridge probably in a future video when we really dive into some of the kind of trick features like those seats. We have a TRD Pro leather trimmed heated steering wheel. Another feature that I've never had before. The heating steering wheel is going to be very nice in the winter times. And then of course we have TRD Pro badging all over this thing. We have the red leather wrapped on the top of the steering wheel, the gear shift selector, and you can look at basically every single piece of this truck and realize that, yeah, it's a TRD Pro. We get it. Now, some other things that they didn't really mention on this sheet, but when it comes to the TRD Pro, we do have some wider fenders here, which is going to allow me to run a bigger offset, a wider tire without completely destroying the paint on the sides. Underneath here, when we look at the suspension, we do have a billet upper control arm. There are actually little Easter eggs stamped on there too because of where some of these parts and the truck itself is manufactured, and you can find those all over the truck as well. This thing is probably sitting like an inch taller than some of the other models out there because of these suspension upgrades, and because of that I really probably won't have to lift the truck, and hopefully, I'm really hoping I don't have to touch the suspension at all, at least for a little while. We have some really high and tight rock sliders on the side, which I'm actually kind of a fan of. I really don't like the steps that come on some of the Toyota models out there, but these are nice and clean, and it's going to protect the truck from body damage. It does also have TRD on the exhaust tips back here, so kind of like a dual exhaust tip setup. They are black, and it's a nice touch, but that is something that I will probably remove because it hangs down pretty low, and we're of course going to be taking this thing on some pretty rocky trails in the future. So next on the window sticker, let's talk about mechanical and performance. The TRD Pro is of course an iForce Max 2.4 liter 4-cylinder turbocharged hybrid powertrain. When I popped the hood of this thing at the dealership and looked underneath it, I felt like I have never seen an engine before in my entire life. There are so many wires, and I'm just not used to a hybrid vehicle at all. This is the first one that I've owned. So looking under there, kind of daunting. If you're going to do your own work on this thing, I would probably say to avoid the hybrid system. You probably don't really want to be messing with that, but maybe in the future there will be some things that you can do in regards to that. However, the power. A lot of people were disappointed that they went from the V6 to a 4-cylinder turbo. That's something that honestly doesn't really scare me away. Toyota has been making turbocharged vehicles for a very, very long time, probably longer than anyone in the truck market right now. Of course, a lot of manufacturers have been making turbocharged diesel vehicles for a long time. Toyota has been doing the same, and they've also been making turbocharged cars since like the 80s. This is of course the first generation of this new truck, and because of that I'm a little bit skeptical. We saw some problems with the very first 3rd gen Tundra. Luckily my Tundra kind of avoids those issues because it's 24. So I'm not too worried about the turbos. I'm not really worried about the drivetrain of this thing. It does, of course, have a warranty as of right now. And I'm really hoping this thing remains reliable because I'm really enjoying the truck so far. But there are some cons, and we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Now, that hybrid powertrain is also linked to an 8-speed automatic transmission, and this is also why the truck feels a lot faster and a lot more enjoyable to drive. It of course has plenty of power, a lot more power than my 3rd gen Tacoma had, and when you pair that with a nicer transmission and having more gears, it makes driving up into the mountains of Colorado and really any mountain pass that much better. My previous truck would hunt for gears almost even in its stock form. It was just underpowered, and luckily this truck as of right now does not seem underpowered at all. If I'm driving this thing at low speeds, it's almost full electric. It doesn't make any noise, but then once you give it a little bit of throttle, then the engine actually kicks on, and it's a really weird sensation. When I was coming to stops originally, like right when I left the dealer, I was looking for a way to turn off that auto start stop, but I didn't even realize that hybrids, that's just the way it is. You can't control that. So the hybrid powertrain is making a lot more power than the gas models, which is why I went to this. If you have a 3rd gen Tacoma, is it worth it to upgrade to a new gas model? In my opinion, no. But if you have the means and you want something with more power and a lot more features, then a hybrid iForce Max Tacoma might be a solid upgrade for you. Anyone out there who's thinking about it with the 3rd gen Tacoma, you might want to get a gas model of the 4th gen. I would just say wait, don't do that. Enjoy your truck how it is, because I don't think they're really that much different until you get into the hybrid system. Now the truck of course has all of the 4-wheel drive features that you could imagine. It has an electrically controlled transfer case, a rear locking differential. It of course has multi-terrain select, crawl control, hill start assist control. A lot of that stuff you'll find on all different vehicles, but this one in particular has a sway bar disconnect, electric sway bar disconnect. This is a feature that I have not used yet, but inside right next to the gear select lever, you can actually press a button and disconnect the stabilizer, which will allow you to have a little bit more travel when you're off-road. I believe, I'm not 100% sure yet because I haven't used it, but I think at low speeds it will disconnect and allow you to have more travel up front, but then once you cross over 18 miles an hour, it's going to relock and then of course stiffen things up for the higher speeds that you're traveling. I'm really excited to test that out because previously I had a sway bar on my 3rd gen, and then later down the road after owning it for a couple of years, I ended up removing that to have more travel, but then the truck becomes a little boaty on the road because of course you have nothing to stabilize it. So I'm hoping that thing works really well and it kind of gives me the best of both worlds. Now we're moving on to the safety and convenience. Nothing too exciting here. This does have the Toyota Safety Sense 3.0 with pre-collision. It does have adaptive cruise and sensors all over the truck. It has lane assist, so it will kind of steer for you like you may have seen me talk about with the Tundra. You can kind of set your cruise control and drive hands-free. At least for a little bit, the truck will yell at you to get your hands back on the wheel, and you shouldn't really be texting and driving anyway. But if it's late at night and you're hauling across the country, some of those safety features are really nice because it will keep you safe. This truck has the Star safety system and connected services, which I will probably hopefully never use. It also creates a 4G network, so you can actually get some of your truck health and statistics on your phone. That part is actually kind of nice because sometimes I forget to lock my vehicle and I will get a notification on my phone that says, hey, your Tacoma's unlocked, and I can actually lock it right from the app. I can also remote start from either the remote or on the app too. You can schedule dealer services and all kinds of stuff like that with basically any connected app. And now we're getting into the exterior features on the window sticker, and this is where they actually mention some things like the rock protection on the side here. If we come all the way to the back, we have an ARB steel rear bumper with recovery hooks from the factory, which is a really nice touch. Like I mentioned, I will probably be swapping this out to some armor that I am more familiar with, but the bumper does look nice. It's cool that you finally have recovery points on a vehicle like this, and ARB does of course make great products. The other thing that they mention on this list here is the rigid lights up front. So again, we have the TRD Pro light bar in the front grille and then rigid lights down here for your fog lights. The last thing on the list here, they're talking about the interior. So let's actually jump inside so you guys can get a closer look at how nice this truck actually is right from the factory. Now before we actually step inside the vehicle, we can take a look at the door card here. This is probably stuff that you guys have seen before, but really nice redesign here. Of course, TRD Pro badging on absolutely everything, like the TRD Pro floor mats that are in here. We have a couple storage options down here for water bottles and any kind of drink you may have. Another door slot up here. Kind of looks like molly panels on here, so you could probably strap something to that if you wanted to. We have a little hidden like cubby compartment here. I'm not entirely sure what that's for. We got some Morse code on there. I'm sure you could find another video out there which will tell you what that's all about. But then we're greeted with this beautiful, beautiful interior. Now I consider this beautiful, but some of you out there may be like, I don't know, still kind of outdated. This is beautiful from a Toyota's perspective. The third gen Tacoma has been the same since 2016 all the way up until this year 2024, so it is really nice to see this kind of whole new refresh in here. Now let's start by looking at the interior right over here on the left side of the steering wheel. We have a bunch of controls here. This is your manual leveling adjustment for the headlights like I mentioned. If you have a heavy load in the rear and the nose of your vehicle is kind of up in the air, you don't want to blind people, you can adjust the level of them right here. We have the backlight for the dash. We have a fuel door. The third gen did not have that, so I actually have to press this button to pop open my fuel door. Auto headlight settings, traction control. We have an inverter for all of the power outlets in here. This is actually the switch to lower the tailgate, which you can do with a simple press of a button. And then just below that are 3 auxiliary switches. Toyota actually included some pigtails, that way I can wire accessories directly into the wiring harness here and turn them on with just the push of a button. I could throw something like an onboard compressor or maybe a light bar on the roof and wire it right in here, so I really don't have to run any extra switching. And that's a really nice touch. It's one less thing that I'll have to do in the future. Now down below that we have the jellyfish launcher, one of my favorite symbols that has ever been put in a vehicle. This is actually for when you open the door, your bed light can come on. This truck of course has a big bed light on the top of the cab and then lights inside of the bed itself. And then right next to that is the TRD light bar. So we have the rigid light bar up front, and again that will only be active when your headlights are running in the high beam mode. Now when it comes to the steering wheel, this is almost identical to the newest Tundra, so obviously everything for infotainment has kind of switched. Cell phone back button, you can flip through your menus right here. Volume up and down, and then the voice control. Over here we have a lot of your drive modes, so for cruise control, lane departure, setting your vehicle distance, blind spot monitoring, you can basically control all of those things with all of these buttons right here. The stocks are pretty much the same for the headlights and the windshield wipers. I'm surprised that there are no automatic windshield wipers on this truck. I just found that out because it was raining on my way up here. And now let's actually start this truck up so you can check out the massive electronic dashboard here. So there are a lot of things to talk about with these screens. They are fully customizable. Over here you can of course see the iForce logo, and that is showing my PSI on the turbo. When you see an RPM actually reading out, that means the engine is actually running, and of course that is your RPMs. But there are times when it is running full hybrid and your RPMs will drop all the way to 0, and that's how you kind of know that you're running in just a hybrid mode. As you can see, I already have 300 miles on the truck. I'm still on my first tank of gas, so it looks like I'll probably get roughly 300 miles per tank, and this is with a lot of city driving back roads, steep mountain roads, in the dirt, stuff like that. When I was on pavement, I was averaging about 19.5, but then crawling up to where I'm at right now, I'm at about 18.8 miles per gallon. All of this stuff is completely customizable. If I press some buttons over here, you can see different cruise control modes. If I press and hold, that will allow me to really change things here. Driving support, I can dive into the settings. I've just been leaving that blank. I can actually move this over and change the turbo gauge to some auxiliary gauges, showing oil pressure and battery, trailer brakes, all this boring stuff that you guys probably don't even care about. Now coming over here to the center of the truck, we have a big red TRD push button here for the start. We have nice carbon fiber all across the dash. Our trailer brake controller is located right down here. I will probably never tow with this truck, but I guess it's kind of a cool option. Heated steering wheel button right here, all of your climate controls, heated and ventilated seats. The top button is for your heat, and then if I turn the actual cooled seats on, let me turn on the passenger seat. You can really hear the air being pumped out of here. Now, one thing that I don't really love is that the cooling really only happens towards the front of your legs here, and then on the upper portion of your back. I would prefer it to be more of like the whole thing, but it still is really nice to have. You can see the camo pattern in there, very similar to my side camo actually. And then instead of TRD stitching in the headrest, they actually put it right here now. Little carbon fiber plasticky feeling plate, but it's a nice touch. Really premium seats. Now down below here we have a wireless charger, which is where I've been placing my phone while I'm driving around. Over here we have two USB-C ports, a regular 12-volt port, which I'll probably use to keep my fridge charged. A little bit more storage down the side here, and then that TRD gear selector. Big old grab handle here for any passengers. Electronic parking brake, the hold button, and this is diving into all of our controls for the drivetrain. So we have 2 high, 4 low, of course, and that is engaged with a simple press of this button, and then you spin the dial. This truck has a tow haul mode, 3 different drive modes, eco, normal, and sport, multi-terrain select, and crawl control as well. Now down here we have buttons for backing up a trailer, the view button, I actually want to show you guys that, rear locker, there's that stabilize bar button, and of course the 14-inch infotainment screen. Now check this out, if I press view, we have cameras all over this truck. Just like the Tundra, we are getting a 360 kind of bird's eye view here. If I hit this button while the truck is in drive, that is going to give us some crazy options. So there's a lot of stuff to choose from here. If I click this button, we're going into a complete front view. I don't know how this even stitches these together, but check this out. I got front driver's side of the truck. I can actually see my wheels here. Passenger side of the truck from the front. Driver's side from the rear. It's even showing me that my wheels are turned right now. Wow, that is actually really smooth. I haven't tried that yet, but that's all updating like in real time. We have a straight back camera, and then of course the passenger side rear. We can look at just the front, just the rear of the tailgate, our front 2 tires so we can see any obstacles that may be coming up, our rear tires, and of course a bed view, which has no cover on it and nothing in it right now. If we turn on this little off-road area here, you can see front and rear. It's showing you kind of like where your drive lines are. It's also showing you the angle of the truck, all your different pitches. I haven't really used that much, but it may come in handy in the future. We got Android Auto and Apple CarPlay here, of course. A lot of different things that you can do with a massive screen like this, and I thought it felt big in the Tundra. It feels extra big in the smaller cab of the Tacoma. Now up top here for the rear view mirror, you can actually link your garage keys to this, so I can just press this button to open my garage door, and then if we flip it, it turns into a digital rear view, which is kind of trippy. I have that on the Tundra too, and I never use it. Up here we have sunglass holder, all your different buttons for lighting controls when your doors open and close, SOS button, and I haven't had this in a while, but a sunroof for a moonroof. I'm a huge fan of this, especially in a smaller truck, because it just opened things up a little bit more. That of course goes forward and backward, up and down, just like any sun or moonroof that you're used to. We have a mirror, LED lights here, and then down below towards the center console here we have 2 cup holders in the front, 2 cup holders in the rear. Kind of a small compartment here for radios or whatever kind of junk you may be traveling with. On the passenger side, a little bit of a cubby above the glove box. There are those pigtails that I was talking about to connect accessories. Leather wrap glove box, again carbon fiber all over the place, and I'm a very big fan of this interior, if you guys can't tell. Now I'll give you guys a quick kind of closer look at these isodynamic seats here. These are the 2 different air chambers which are acting like the shocks on the seat. One of them controls forward and backward movement, and the other one controls lateral side-to-side movements. I actually set these to a pressure for my weight as of right now. You simply open up this valve here, and the truck came with a little digital gauge and kind of like a bike tire pump. So put the proper air in here for my weight. You can find that chart inside of the owner's manual. And then down below on each side, you can actually lock these out. So if you're just driving on the road and you don't feel like you need the extra suspension in your seats, you can lock them out or just leave them open like I've been doing. We have a 120 volt AC outlet right here, 2 more USB-C chargers, and these seats, they don't flip up because that's where your hybrid system is. The seat backs, however, do fold down. Typically we would have storage here, but this of course has the premium audio. So we have a full JBL system in here. I believe this is an 8-inch subwoofer. And then we have a little bit of storage on the other side for your tire iron and jack and things like that. Now I haven't even mentioned this yet, but yeah, JBL audio all throughout this truck. So we have a really nice large door speaker here. We have some upgraded tweeters in the A-pillars, and then if I press this button, boop, we have a Toyota branded JBL speaker which you can use when you get to camp. Set it up on your tailgate and continue jamming out. This thing will charge when it clicks into place right up there on the dash, and I almost forgot that thing was even there. Now coming around to the bed of this truck, you get a shot of the ARB bumper there. If I press this button on either side, tailgate drops down automatically. Really small bed on this guy. This is the smallest bed on a truck that I've ever owned. 5-foot bed. We have a little bit of a storage compartment here, which is pretty standard. 120 volt outlet, which will work when you have the inverter on. Bed lights, bed rails, tie down points. And then over here on this side, we have a little bit more storage and 2 USB-C ports and a 12 volt port, as well as a little fuse. Now I wish these were actually active when the truck was off and it kind of like just drew power from the hybrid system, but unfortunately that's not the case as of right now. It would be nice to just plug a fridge in back here and have it running all the time, especially when you get to camp. But for now, those are only going to be active when the truck is actually running. Now I could press this button or grab the tailgate handle underneath to actually close this, or I can just bump it with my knee and it will pull itself closed just like that. Pretty trick, fancy feature, but I dig it. So that's a pretty in-depth overview of all of the features that you can expect from a new truck like this. Kind of boring, I know, we're just going over stuff that you guys may have heard before. But I just wanted to get this out of the way in case you have never seen anyone talking about this truck from being an actual buyer's perspective. I've said it a few times, but I spent a ton of money on this truck, so let's actually look at this window sticker now and check out how much this thing costs. Now when it comes to this truck, the TRD Pro 4th Gen Tacoma, there's really only a few options that you can pick. I of course opted for the underground color, so you can pick the actual paint color of your vehicle, and then you can choose the type of soft text material inside of there. So I of course went with black. The other option would be a red interior. The bright red interior looks pretty cool, but for me, it's just a little bit too much red. So with those different options, picking your color and the color of the seats on the inside, it doesn't change the price. The manufacturer's suggested retail price with delivery, processing, and handling fee, it comes out to $65,395. That is a ton of money for a small little truck like this. And is it worth it? A lot of people out there on the internet are already saying, absolutely not. You could buy so many different things for a price of a new Tacoma. And I agree with you. There are a ton of really great vehicles out there for about $65,000. I'm hoping though that I get the most use out of this truck. I'm hoping it's reliable, and I think I'm going to really enjoy my time spent with this truck. Now when it comes to what I actually paid and maintenance plans and extended warranties and stuff like that. Now I put my order in for this truck really early on. I wanted to be one of the first people to get my hands on it. That way I could bring you guys these videos. And I was basically locked into the MSRP price, which is kind of a rarity as of right now. Most dealers, which is unfortunate, but they're getting a high trim truck like this and they're putting a dealer markup on it. Luckily, I did not have to do that. I actually also declined some things like windshield repair, roadside assistance kit, paint protection, because I'm going to be kind of messing with this truck and doing a lot of those things myself. So that took a little bit off of the price, and I ended up with an out the door price of $64,425.90. So that's just for the truck itself, but then of course comes the warranties and maintenance. When you're talking to a finance guy at a dealer, that's really where they try to get you and make a lot of money. I of course have bought quite a few new vehicles in my lifetime, and I feel like I'm pretty decent at this stuff. Typically I would decline a warranty because I'm going to have the factory warranty and I'm going to do a bunch of stuff to my vehicles where I probably don't really need the warranty. I don't want it. I'm going to go to a local mom and pop shop to help me out with some of the work. On this truck, however, because it is a new generation and I don't really know what I'm getting myself into yet, I did opt for an extended warranty. I believe the warranty coverage that I opted for was up to 55,000 miles. It might be like a 6-year plan. And the reason I did that is because, of course, the truck is brand new. There are so many computer systems in here. The hybrid system is kind of new to me. So I want to make sure that all that stuff is going to be covered under warranty in case something goes wrong. That being said though, when it comes to the traditional drivetrain that I'm talking about, we do have a new motor in here, turbocharged 4-cylinder, and we're not entirely sure how these things are going to play out. Again, fingers crossed, I'm hoping they're good, but I decided to just cover myself a little bit and get the extended warranty. I also purchased a maintenance plan. Every new vehicle that you buy from Toyota does come with Toyota Care, which is going to cover kind of like routine maintenance and things like that for a little while. However, I opted to extend that a little bit further. This might actually be the plan that was 55,000 miles. The warranty might have even been longer. I don't remember off the top of my head, so excuse me for that. I did opt for the longer maintenance package though, because of course I'm going to have all of my oil changes covered, but then when we get to the big milestones like brake fluid, transmission fluid, diff fluid, all kinds of things that I would have to come out of pocket for, I kind of baked that into a deal with the finance guy, including the maintenance and the extended warranty. I got it for a good price, and hopefully this truck doesn't really need to dip into that. Hopefully it doesn't need anything crazy done as far as the warranty goes, and I'm really going to use the most out of my maintenance package because I have a lot of vehicles now and I don't have time to maintain them all myself. When I'm out on a trip in one vehicle, generally the other one is being maintained, so that brings me to a good point. Where does this new Tacoma fit into the lineup? Tacoma is going to be probably Diamondback and a tent on there. Overland rig, generally not super long trips, but it's probably capable of it with the new powertrain and transmission and everything. Tundra has been promoted to the Kimbo hauler, so I have a slide-in camper that's going to be living in that truck for a majority of the winter time, and then the van is a beast of its own. So I kind of have 3 different ways to travel, make content, be self-sustained in this kind of overlanding world as I travel around the country, visiting places, hanging out with friends. So this Tacoma is going to kind of be the light, nimble, fast truck that's going to be a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to what I'm able to do with this truck in the future, and I'm hoping Toyota doesn't let me down because I've spent a lot of money with Toyota at this point. So I think that's all that I had for this quick video. If you guys have any questions on the TRD Pro Tacoma, let me know in the comments down below. I'll try to answer anything as best as possible. There are a lot of questions and topics I'm sure that you guys will bring up, which will deserve a full video on its own. So I will reply to some of your comments and say, hey, I'm going to be doing a full video on that, so just stay tuned. I have a lot of travel coming up, and videos on this truck are going to come out fairly regularly on the channel. However, I'm going to try to squeeze them in as much as possible whenever I can spend time behind the driver's wheel of the 4th gen Tacoma. So that's all that I had. If you guys are new here, consider clicking subscribe. I make new videos every single week. As always, thank you for watching. I'll talk to you in the next one.